to this mother, how will it affect her children? And any negative effects on that, we can't use that. We can't do that. Well, they have something under the corporation called acceptable loss. It's a way to benefit using insurance to pad your losses, to turn your losses into wins. So what's an apparent loss to them is actually a payout. So they trade in birth certificates and death certificates. Mm-hmm. They capitalizing off our birth joy and off our death tragedy.
I went to the GMEI utility site and put the Social Security assigned to me number in and the Social Security number assigned to my mother, who transitioned in 2002. And to this day, it was just maybe a few days ago, maybe last week, that birth certificate still being traded on all over the world. I noticed some of the ones in like Dusseldorf have become inactive. It was funny, but all over the world, there might be like, maybe it was like either 1,100 or 11,000 transactions, 1,100, that are still active. And she transitioned in 2002. I have about
somebody in your family, she gonna come back as. The clock of destiny is the way that you track when she coming back and who she gonna be. They already know how to use it. So the death certificate is a countermeasure to the birth certificate. It keeps the birth certificate able to continuously be being traded until it's switched out with the new birth certificate on the return of the elder.
Really?
Yeah, they good with that shit. That's part of their Babylonian money magic system. They generate money out of thin air because we breathe life into the air when we exhale.
So is there money out of thin air? Is that like the mints that are just printing so-called money, like it's monopoly stuff, just new game, new money? Is that how they're doing it?
Right. So that's so that they can steal the value without you ever knowing what they're doing, using something called inflation. This is done under what they call fractional reserve banking. Under fractional reserve banking, they can borrow $100 from you, and then they use it for collateral to borrow $100,000 or $1 million off that 100. Right now, because you put $100 in your bank account, they can lend $100,000 out.
And that's why they get a little seem to have they get testy when you want to take it out.
Right, because when you take out your money, they have to cash in a bond. Okay. And when they have to cash in the bond, if it isn't matured yet, a penalty comes with it. And let's say the mortgage fraud. So all of the banks are going to be seized for mortgage fraud and for usury. Excessive interest on the dollar.
Right.
Right. You're not supposed to charge interest on a direct loan. You're only supposed to charge interest on what they call a third-party loan. That means if I have you borrow some money from somebody, in order to lend me some money, you have to charge me interest.
Okay.
I'm the third party. That means that you giving me a fee to use your credit, a cosigner. Right. So that's how you're supposed to do interest. But they have the inflation. The inflation is affected by the interest rate. You remember when Greenspan was in the Fed, he used to be over here every year readjusting the interest rate.
Right.
That was saying how much you're going to be able to buy with a single dollar. You remember when bread was a quarter a loaf?
I remember when it was cheap.
I bet you can't find one for under $1.
Oh, yeah, I don't think you can find one for $1. I don't think, maybe let's try like not one under $2.
Right. So that's inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Everything on top of that original quarter is inflation.
Because the quarter then, and it was for the same amount and whatever, it really should still be that.
Right.
But what they've done now, they have reduced the sizes of things and
my profile, the YouTube link, and it'll get you directly to this live. Same thing with IG. All you got to do literally is go to the profile and press the profile, that YouTube, just go there, and that YouTube will bring you right to this live, in which we have it on. And the good brother Rod Hayes, we're gonna wait till 9 o'clock. If you're out there, I see y'all out there. Go ahead, of course, like and subscribe, please, to the channel. You know what I'm
And
saying?
share. And
Yeah,
share.
and share. Yes, it. Like, subscribe, and share to the chat. And please do, indeed, we got to get this information out here. We got a little pre-time here. You know what I'm saying, with the good brother. You know what I'm saying. So yeah. So what we got going on here? One of the main reasons why I was very inspired to do this and reach out to the brother, just because a lot of the topics he talks about are near and dear, not only to me, but I know to the community. You know what I mean? It's topics that we need to talk about. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of us that, don't even have a clue really, you know what I'm saying, that what's going on. So that's what we're here for. You know what I'm saying? And let's go. I'm gonna go ahead and roll with it. Today, the topic of conversation is the connection of the chiefs in the rise of the matriarch. And it's specifically dealing with the different chiefs or master teachers that we've seen come through America that had indigenous and native blood. You know, and there's a connection because it's like a timeline, and all these individuals, you know what I'm saying? You know, they were Cherokee, they were, different lineage, had different native tribes, you know what I'm saying? And that's not a coincidence, you know what I'm saying, that this went down like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence. This is, nature, or as like we say in our language, Papa Ut, the source, the creator of all, is always has something to keep us above water, even though we've been drowning for so long. And I'm gonna go ahead and start doing my intro, because I'm gonna let this good brother talk. I'm gonna y'all know how I do. I ask the questions, get the hell on. So first of all, I'm gonna say Rahubat Yasar Ashuk to all my folks out there, my Yasar, and peace to the tribe, And Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast, we are here to uplift humanity, and also to wake up the woolly-haired, melanated zombies that have been asleep for too long and are still starting to wake up. You know what I'm saying? Of course, if you haven't already, please go to polkadot.rabbitpodcast.com. Pick up my book, Bicultural Living and Leaving the World of Illusions, my journey on me waking up, you know what I'm saying, and realizing all this. And again, like the brother said earlier, please like, follow, subscribe, and share. You know what I'm saying? And that's really it, brother. You know what I'm saying? Brother Rod, man, if y'all do not know this brother, I can't say much more great things about this brother, man, just because he's coming with the realness, all the way with it. I'm gonna go ahead and go, if you're ready, I'm ready. I'm gonna start my first question there, right?
We can go when you're ready.
Okay. Okay. I love the way that when you talk, you're very expressive, and you paint a very vivid picture. One of my main things I want for the people that are kind of new to these black people being indigenous in America, could you please paint a picture of like pre-colonialism, how we were, what we were doing, colonialism, and like we said earlier, how we died, by the pen. Could you kind of
Right.
like walk us through that whole process?
So, before the conquistadors came in search of the gold and the wealth of the land, the way that we were living was under matriarchal rules, right? And we all had family banks. We didn't have a centralized banking system. And that's what they captured the banking system with the bank robberies, the Billy the Kids and the Bonnie and Clydes. Those were all staged robberies, and for the purposes of seizing our banks, right? So the people start listening to the people that came in, telling them how to centralize the banking system. And this was warned against by the founding fathers. But before they came, we didn't have war over here. We didn't have prison over here. We had every shade of people. That's why it's called the Great Melding Pot over here. And we didn't get involved in the skirmishes that took place on the other lands across the water, right? But then they involved us when they came here in 1492. They actually came in the 1100s to scout the land. And once they seen they was losing the war in Europe, they decided to come and sack our land. So they gave us a Bible, and the Bible was the beginning of our downfall. So the appearance of legitimacy using the paperwork of an interim government is what's been keeping us in bondage. Their book say that we have to be freed from the law and delivered unto grace. And the grace is the royal noble character of the people, And so in order to be released from the law, you have to find your sovereign capacity. So what do we use for references? The Dred Scott case. They said that Dred Scott was 3/5 of a human being, and that's why a black man had no rights that a white man was bound to respect. What we didn't know at that time was when they say a white man, they talking about the royal family of Europe that came over here with the conquistadors as the attackers in a fifth dimensional chess game known as a conjure war, right? So when they came over here, they locked us down using the paper chains, and the paper chains is called adhesion contracts. So they use their the story of the Mayflower. The Mayflower's real original name was called the good ship Plymouth. So Malcolm said that we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. What is he talking about? He's talking about the allegation on the world court that we crashed our landmass into the good ship Plymouth. They changed the name from Plymouth to Mayflower, right? So this is a cover-up. They wrote the contract in the blood of Chris Atticus because the blood of the righteous shall not be spilled to pain, and they're using this Babylonian money magic to counter the contract. And the contract is called a constitution. And it's a secondary constitution to the original constitution that was governed by the people of the land. So this is how they came in and swindled us out of everything with adhesion contracts.
Okay, so that's, it's interesting because we don't hear about none of this. You know what I'm saying? We don't hear, nobody has a claim, but at the same time, a lot of us as black people, we're quote unquote African Americans, a lot of them are saying, oh, my grandma said I was Cherokee. Oh, my grandma said I was Choctaw, and et cetera. We're like, and we're thinking that, we like the Indian power people on, like on, what's that show? The Lone Ranger, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Tonto and all that. Yeah, Tonto.
Tonto, a Spanish word, means stupid.
Mm. That makes more sense. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But so basically what you're saying is that a lot of us here that we're already here, all these tribes you're talking about look like woolly-haired individuals that look like me and you, correct?
No, not all of them. You had tribes that were of Asian descent.
Mm.
But most of them was from the West Coast, South, Pacific coastline, because we used to do trade with Asia on the West Coast of the United States with both China and Japan long before Columbus ever came. They found those ships from those traders that we used to trade in goods and services for, and we also traded wives among the royal families to make political and family ties and to give us a union across the water, right? Same thing on the other side, on the East Coast, we was trading with African nations hundreds of years, thousands of years before Columbus ever came. So that tells us out the gate that that's a bullshit story, that Columbus didn't know where he was going, right? They calling us Indians because he thought he was going to India, but India wasn't India yet. So what the fuck is we talking about? Right? India was Hindustan. Right? And so where's we getting this Indian shit from? Then they gave us the other titles, the Negroes, the Moors. None of those are self-identifying terms. When you let your enemy define who you are, then you become your enemy's servant. Right? So you have to make your own proclamation as to who you are. You got to go from 3/5 compromised,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you compromise when you in incompetent status in law.
Mm-hmm.
But when you fully realize you 5/5. Once you 5/5, you are whole. And now they don't have jurisdiction over you because you can see they whole shenanigans for what it is. That's why you never see, like for instance, my field of study was law, medicine, and history,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what do the law got to do with history? What do the history got to do with medicine? And what do the medicine got to do with the law?
Mm-hmm.
So when you start going through it, you see that they speaking in terms that on purpose using foreign languages to speak over the head of the common people so that we can't really understand what we getting ourselves into when we making these contracts with them. And then they give us an overload of data to absorb in order to know, make a competent decision. So we just accept the adhesion contract, which is holding them in power.
Um, Another interesting point. I always see, like you said, I remember you was breaking it down about what you said, mirror tribes, right?
Yep.
Because whenever I look at ancient Tamaray or Kemet, whatever you want to call it, and I look at you know some Native Americans, I see the feathers, then I see a namuz. You know what I'm saying? I see an apron. You know what I'm saying? I see totem poles. I see obelisks. Um, was the connection from there to how did they intermingle? How did they have the similarities?
The similarities of the mirror tribes is that they come from a same custom,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the reason why you have mirror tribes, so if one tribe loses a part of the history, they can look at the mirror tribes' customs and traditions and remember what they lost,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you over here, when you like a Mississippian, one of the oldest tribes, and you looking across multiple cultures, you can read all of the cultures simultaneously together, and that's going to show you that what's going on the land by frequency and vibration of the people.
Mm-hmm. And as far as like I was going back earlier about like painting the picture, because I see these different, like in Georgia, for example, we have the Etowah mounds that are right up above Atlanta, and it's right on the river. I'm seeing all these mounds all over America. You know what I mean? So, and I saw there's another big one in I think it was St. Louis. I haven't been there yet, but
They
I'm
all
in
over.
there. Yeah, they're all over. And I personally I had the experience to go to Teotihuacan. You know what I'm saying? And seeing the sun and the moon pyramid. And, and I saw brothers on the walls that look like me and you just sitting there doing their thing.
Yeah.
So is it going back to like a timeline? What time are we talking about as far as these us being here on this continent? Building and the beginning of it
Look,
and kind of like the downfall.
look at the Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
Mm-hmm.
3,600 years ago, Thoth was instructed by his father to go and civilize that portion of the land called Egypt
Mm-hmm.
today,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's 36,000 years ago. That's two, what they call precession cycles back. Now, the complex is there to tell the people over here something, because this is where the Sphinx is looking at. It's looking over here, right? So if the Sphinx is looking over here, what is her posture saying? She waiting. What's she waiting on? She waiting on the master to come with a lion's paw and the master's grip and raise her from her state. And a Sphinx in flight is called a griffin, right? And the griffin is the eagle-headed lion, right? And the eagle head is representative of the chief. And the chiefs lead out in representing of the matriarchs. Because the chief that advocate the matriarchal restoration is the one who understands that the land cannot be sold. It can only be contracted until the Jubilee year. This is the Jubilee year. So now we follow the Indigenous Rights Acts, United Nations, Indigenous Rights Act, United States, and we follow the FEMA document for continuity of government. We understand that they have to destroy all GMO foods. So you see in all of these food places been being destroyed for the last 2 years ever since destroying GMOs, because in the new cycles, we will not allow GMOs to be entered into the food chain for people or animals. We want to go back to the organic living by restoring the land, and then living off the land by restoring it. The land gonna take care of all our needs as long as we take care of the land, right? And all this land is tribal land. And even DC, because we staked the totem pole in DC to commemorate the 400 years, then they marched the totem pole for 400 miles, 1 mile to the year, right? And then they staked it in DC because that was the so-called crime scene that was classified as a independent city state.
Okay. Yeah, that that makes perfect sense. Like I said, I've been ever since I've been we talked about this prior, ever since I've been talking. If some of y'all look back at my other video, I had a good bill with the brother Dr. Gabriel Hernandez L, and he started talking about, I think the name of it was "We Came Before Columbus." We kind of building on that now.
That's
Yeah. That's